Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for the 30 Minutes Dementia Talk. My name is Florence. I'm a dementia engagement specialist based in Exeter, where I support people living with dementia and their families to remain active and engaged as the dementia progresses. And every month I organize those 30 Minutes Dementia Talks, where the idea is really to talk about different aspects of dementia and how we can adapt to the changes that arise so that we can maintain a good relationship for really as long as possible with the person living with dementia. I'm really excited to have Faye talk to us today. I actually met her through one of the 30 Minutes Dementia Talks, and she's a dance and movement psychotherapist, and she delivers workshops for people living with dementia in care homes and also people not living with dementia. And what I found really interesting about her work is that during her sessions, she uses as little words as possible, sometimes even no words at all. And I thought she's the perfect person to really inspire us in connecting with people when words are not the best options anymore. So, Faye, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for presenting today.
Thank you, Florence. My name's Faye O'Connor, and I'm a registered dance movement psychotherapist and based in the West Midlands in the UK. And my company is Express Yourself Dance CIC. And today we're going to talk about how dance movement psychotherapy or dance and movement can help people to express themselves and to communicate when words are not always available. It probably will be no shock or surprise to people that actually verbal communication is 7% of our communication, and 38% is our intonation, our voice, the tone of our voice, and 55% is our body language. And that's our posture, our gesture, our facial expressions, our eye gaze, the rhythms that we present in our body is all communication and how we communicate with people. And so when people are living with dementia and words are no longer available, we can still communicate with people and connect. So what is dance movement psychotherapy? So the Association of Dance Movement Psychotherapy state that dance movement psychotherapy, or DMP, is a relational process in which clients and therapists engage creatively through body movement and dance alongside verbal and non-verbal reflection. The word dance has many connotations, and we all I assume that when we say the word dance, we can all think of what dance means to us. But in this context, dance really is a metaphor for relationship, and that is a relationship between a person and a client and a therapist, or a witness and a mover. It's about the relationship that we create, and within that relationship, within the environment, how we create the environment to make people feel safe. Just because people don't have the words to say, I feel frustrated, or I feel tired, or I feel sad, or I feel happy or joyful, we still have emotions. Our emotional brain is still very much there, and it's important that people are given the time and the space to have the opportunity to connect with other people and express how they're feeling today. So why movement matters in dementia care? It matters because when words are no longer there, how do people express themselves? And I have had many instances where I've worked in a care home where people haven't got movement in their body, they haven't got words, but their movement is their eye gaze. And we've had a waltz. So we've shared a waltz together, and I've swayed in the timing of a waltz of a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And they've joined me in the waltz, but moving their eyes from side to side in perfect timing. So we had a dance together. It was just a different type of dance. I adapted to the way that they move, and we still had a connection, and they still had an opportunity for that enjoyment and to reduce their social isolation and be part of something bigger than themselves. And our bodies are full of different rhythms, and this is really where dance movement psychotherapy really comes into its own showcase. We have our breathing. If you just gently place your hand on your chest, you'll feel your heart beating, and I'm noticing that my heart's beating quite quickly. We have our heartbeat. When we walk, we have a rhythm. When we chew, we have a rhythm. When we swallow, we have a rhythm. When we reach out, we have a rhythm. And all these rhythms can be measured. All these, because when we're feeling different feelings, the breathing might increase, it might shallow, our heartbeat might beat quickly. We might walk quicker if we're feeling scared. We might walk slower if we're trying to maybe avoid something. So all of these natural rhythms in our body, we can work with as dance movement psychotherapists to gain an insight to how somebody might be feeling. And actually, we have a cacophony of rhythms in our body, and a healthy person has all these different rhythms within their reach. And dance movement psychotherapy is exciting because it takes the mind and the body into account. With talking therapies, we have the cognitive, being able to talk how we feel, but actually dance encourages a sense of play. And when we play, our nervous system calms down. We go into our parasympathetic nervous system, and we can connect with people, and we can be creative. We have the ability to be creative and draw or paint or listen to music and interpret music or move our hands or take on a role that maybe we wouldn't necessarily take on, or a role that we want to take on maybe to assert ourselves. So the creativity is fundamentally important, and fundamentally important across all of our lifespan, actually. Sometimes we stop being curious when we're not children anymore, and we stop seeing the snail on the footpath. But actually, that snail is an amazing thing that we can be curious about, and we can ask questions, and we can wonder where the snail is going on its journey next, even if we don't know the answer. Dance movement psychotherapy has different frameworks, and I work with the Laban analysis framework, which explores our weight, our time, our flow, and our space, but commonly more use the Kestenberg movement profile from Judith Kestenberg and Kestenberg tension flow rhythms. And these help us to explore people's emotional states and their developmental patterns, how they relate to one another, and the ways they engage in the world. And all these different rhythms have different meanings within our bodies. And they're sort of separated. We need a mixture of all the rhythms. To be a healthy human, we need a mixture of all the rhythms. But we have indulging rhythms and we have fighting rhythms. The indulging rhythms include sucking, twisting, running and drifting, swaying and jumping. And these are really associated with joy, playfulness and openness. And when we are feeling joyful, our flow, going back to Laban, we are able to flow more freely because things are not getting stuck in our body. We're able to move around and move different parts of our body. And we have fighting rhythms, and fighting could also be used containing, because sometimes we need to keep the body safe, or the body tries to keep us safe. And we have snapping, biting, strain and release, start, stop, surging and birthing, and spurting and ramming. And these all are indicators of developmental stages of our lives between the ages of 0 to 6. So all of these rhythms are developed in that short period of time of life, but we carry the rhythm throughout our life. Indulging rhythms for connection and flow, and then fighting rhythms for people to help assert boundaries and to also help to regulate themselves. And I really wanted to touch upon the running and drifting rhythm, which is often experienced with people living with dementia. The constant repetition of speech, of questions, of the same question over and over and over and over and over again. The walking with purpose, up and down a corridor is a running and drifting. A storytelling, but getting lost in the story and maybe having a different ending is all part of an experience of living with people living with dementia. And with wondering physically and mentally, are they daydreaming? Where are they? Are they daydreaming? And actually, if that person is safe in that space, and that's the rhythm that they're in, it's an indulging rhythm. We should go with their rhythm. We should meet the person where they're at and allow them to have that expression. If it becomes upsetting for the person because they're trying to tell a story, but they can't remember the story and now they're upset, how do we intervene to support that person? We validate the emotion. Oh, I can see you're upset. But we also introduce the next rhythm. So each rhythm has a next rhythm, and we introduce the stop-start rhythm. And this is a time for pause, and it's a time for process and regulation, and for people to assert their own boundaries and to stay safe in an interaction. And an example that I thought of is for the person who's wandering up and down the corridor, maybe trying to get out of the door of the care home. How do we try and redirect that person? We attune to them, we attune to their movement, we ask for permission to walk alongside them, and we experience what it's like to feel that walk, to be walking. We build this attunement with this person where they can see that they're being mirrored, and we introduce a sense or an opportunity to play or a curiosity. I wonder what would happen now if I just stood still. Will this person now stand still, or will they at least be curious? This person's been walking up and down this corridor with me for the last 10 minutes and now they've just stopped. Why have they stopped? What does that person need? And it offers an opportunity for that person to stop, pause. And maybe that's where the redirection is in our language. We've been walking up and down here for 10 minutes. Should we go and see? Would you like to go to this activity? Shall we go and join everybody else for their dinner? Because it's non-confrontational. No one's got upset with that. We haven't told that person to stop. They need to go and eat their dinner now. It's time for dinner, because the intonation is a sense of urgency. We've met a person where they're at. We've moved with them and experienced their journey. And that stop-start might carry on. It might become a game in itself. It's just like a game of peekaboo when we're younger, and much younger when we're babies, and we have a game of peekaboo. It is a conversation. It is a turn-taking experience. We are engaging in with this person in a conversation that we don't know what it's about, but they've stopped and we've started, and they've started and we've stopped. Just like having a conversation. It's a different type of conversation, and it's a different conversation to what we're used to, but that person is still having a conversation. They're still getting the opportunity to turn take. They're still getting the opportunity to try and assert some control. Well, you've stopped too soon, and I wanted to go. There's an element of play, and there's an element of autonomy for that person and permission. And this really then links into adaptive communication, and this is the work of Dr. Maggie Ellis and Professor Arlene Astle. I've recommended the reading book Adaptive Interaction and Dementia because their key takeaway from the work is when working with people living with dementia, we must adapt to them. How can we expect somebody who's living with dementia with deteriorating cognitive function to interact in a way that they interacted before? They will not interact in a way that they interacted before. They will change their way of interaction, and we are the people that need to adapt to be able to have these conversations with people, even if the conversation is through movement. So it's a really important element of the work that we do. We adapt, and we have to really reflect ourselves on, why can't I adapt to talk to this person? Is it because I feel a little bit silly? Is it, what are my feelings around this? And when you start to reflect on your own feelings and your own barriers to going into this mode of interaction, you start to recognise that, oh, okay, I can put that aside. It doesn't matter. This communication with this person might be their only communication today and is really important. In dance, we call it cross-modal. In dance movement psychotherapy, we call it cross-modal matching. And sometimes it could be that somebody makes the sound, ooh, and it's a ooh back. And then the person goes, oh, they're joining in with me. Yeah. And we have this conversation, and it's through sound, and it's not always movement. It can be the sound. And again, if you've had a word with yourself and gone, is this conversation going to benefit this person today? Is it going to benefit their experience of being a human? What can I let go of myself to be able to interact with this person? You can have really fun, interesting conversations. And just by tones of voices, you can get, when you mirror that movement or sound back, you can feel in your body what that sound is. Oh, is she in pain? Is she uncomfortable? Oh, they sounded quite relaxed then. And you're starting to assimilate how they might be feeling in their bodies because you've got this cross-modal matching going on. And the mirroring, so mirroring movement, however somebody might be moving, actually can reduce people's experience of pain when it is done together collectively as a group. And it reflects to the person that I have empathy for you. I can move with you and be with you, and I can reflect your movement qualities back. Florence said right at the start of the talk that when I lead a group in a care home or a dementia workshop, a dementia cafe, I use no verbal communication because sometimes people can't hear what I'm saying, particularly if they've forgotten to put their hearing aids that day. They have this intonation to deal with my tone of voice. And the tone of voice sort of suggests that maybe you're doing it wrong. Maybe that's not the right way to move. But when I move non-verbally, it is a choice whether people choose to move with me. And the mirror neurons are still there, and people will move their arms and I will mirror their movement, and we will have this conversation with one another through dance and movement, and no words are needed. And if somebody sits in one of my sessions and sits there and just watches, well, isn't that wonderful that they're watching all these people dance? Something is still happening for that person. If they choose to sit there and just tap their foot, Well, isn't that great that they're connected in this moment with me? They're connected to the music that we're listening to together, and they're connected to a rhythm. When I go into care homes and people have this assumption of, oh, they need to be moving because they're part of a dance session and they're not getting everything from it if they're not moving, and people start lifting other people's arms for them. It's really frustrating, because how do we know that person wants to lift their arm? Is that even past their pain point? Can we even recognise that their arms are being lifted safely and they're certainly not making a choice to move their arms? I think just allowing time for people to be in a space is really important. And also, going back to cross-modal matching, I've got quick time to quickly share an example. I was in a care home and there was a lady who just had a visit from her family. Her family were leaving and she became very anxious and frustrated. And she was holding onto a scarf that I'd given it to everybody as a prop. She was holding onto the scarf, and this was her movement, which fits spurting and ramming, okay, which is a fighting rhythm. I made an assumption that she was upset potentially about her family leaving the venue. But with this rhythm, I recognised this, and we got the scarf and we started to, so I matched the movement, cross-modal matching, matched her movement where she was with the intensity that I thought she was giving the movement. And then she attuned to me and recognised that I was mirroring her. I then changed my movement into a jumping rhythm, which is an indulging rhythm, and she's curious. So she joins in with this movement, and suddenly we've gone from this to this, and already I notice in my own body that I'm feeling less tension, to eventually getting her into a sway, and suddenly she can breathe a little bit deeper and she's calm, and she's sat down because she's going to join in with the session. And this was a 3-minute interaction. It was really quick. It didn't need to be anything, but actually the situation was de-escalated really quickly with no words and just being able to attune to this rhythm. That person then joined in the session in a much calmer state. And it didn't have a ripple effect on everybody else in the group who might get a bit annoyed with her, or a staff member didn't have to come to take her back to her room to sit and be quiet and be still on her own, which would probably not be helpful anyway, because she's then going to become more isolated and more lonely. So really the key takeaways for today are that communication extends far beyond our words, that rhythm shapes our emotional experience and how we're feeling internally. Adaptive communication or cross-modal matching supports connection. To be seen is something so significant. We all want to be seen, we all want to belong. Mirroring creates non-verbal empathy, and the body will always continue to be expressive, even when we think they have limited range of movement. And movement reflects our inner and relational life. And cross-modal matching helps to build meaning, and you can be curious to what that's about. And ultimately, that dance movement psychotherapy supports people who are living with dementia. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm from my company's Express Yourself Dance CIC, and we're trying to build our following on LinkedIn. So if you could take a photograph, if you're interested, of the screen of the QR code to follow our page, that would be greatly appreciated. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be really keen to hear.
I just loved listening to you and listening to all of your experience using nonverbal communication and using mirroring with people living with dementia. It's funny, I learned about mirroring when I was studying hypnotherapy.
Okay.
And yeah, we use it as well in there. And then also in social psychology, where it was more about connecting with the person and making sure, like, more into facilitating the fact that someone will feel empathy with you or feel connected with you, and hearing you talk about it and how you use it in with people living with dementia is just inspiring. I really love listening to you today. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's a real privilege to be part of this small part. So thank you.
Thanks. And your LinkedIn will be on the description also in the on YouTube.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. Perfect. So I think this is it for today. If you have any questions for us, either for Faye or for me, just feel free to email us or to comment on the LinkedIn, on the YouTube video. Faye will be a collaborator, so she should be able to receive comments as well, I think. And yeah, hopefully see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.